Are you looking for an easy way to add a touch of natural charm to your home? This DIY organic bead garland is the perfect handmade decor piece. Simple, stylish, and effortlessly beautiful. Whether you're going for a rustic, boho, or minimalist look, this easy project will elevate any space. Let's get started. Hello everyone and welcome back to Toshkin House. Today we're making a beautiful DIY organic bead garland. Here is what you will need. Crayola air dry clay.
Si tu savais tout ce que je veux donner pour toi, mon amour. Si tu savais tout le bien que je pourrais te faire pour toujours. Si tu savais comme je voudrais n'aimer que toi, mon amour. Si juste tu me...
Something to make your holes. I am using a skewer because that is what I have on hand. An ice cream scoop.
Tu as de la chance que je sois présente, mais si tu rappes mon amour, je risque de m'en...
You will also need some dirt of your choice. Since I live in a high desert climate, I will be using sand. And of course, paint in the color of your choice. As you can see, I definitely use my paint, so I've selected a few options. Stick around until later in the video and I will reveal the final color I chose. Before I get started, I wanted to share some of my inspiration that truly amazed me. My goal with this project was to create a natural organic feel, and these ideas really sparked my creativity. To begin, I'm using my ice cream scooper. This makes it easy to scoop the clay out of the container, and it also helps maintain a consistent shape and thickness throughout the project.
Si j'ai peur d'ouvrir mon cœur, je ne veux plus être bloquée, je préfère l'amour à la peur. Je sais qu'en toi il y a cette flamme qui brûle et brille comme de l'or. Je pense qu'on est âme sœur, tu le sens. Si tu veux avoir du temps, réfléchir à mes promesses. N'oublie pas que la vie est courte, pas t'inquiète. Si tu veux avoir du temps, réfléchir à mes promesses. Je te dis tu vas me perdre.
Once the clay is out of the scooper, it's time to mold the shape. I'm working with two different thicknesses. One I flattened a bit to resemble the shape of a tire, and the other I kept fully rounded for some variation in the design.
Si tu veux avoir du temps, réfléchir à mes promesses. N'oublie pas que la vie est courte, il n'y a pas beaucoup de temps à perdre. Ne réfléchis pas trop.
La vie est courte, mon âme.
Ne réfléchis pas trop. Chose vite, je n'ai pas de patience, mais je crois mon expérience. Les mecs en toi compliquent tout, laisse-toi aller, fais-moi confiance. Ne réfléchis pas trop, la vie est courte, mon amour. Ne réfléchis pas trop.
Next, it's time to make the holes. I'm using my skewer for this step. When making your holes, be sure they're wide enough to easily insert your jute twine through later. Drawing from my inspiration, I noticed they used a lot of beads, so I decided to go with a total of 48 beads for my garland. And here I am sharing the second shape, which is more of an oval. When doing this project, you don't need to be overly precise, especially if you're aiming for an organic feel. Just have fun with it and enjoy the process. Comparing side by side, you can see the difference in the size and shape. This helps me visualize how they'll look together in the final garland. When making the holes in the clay, since it is still wet, I use sand to cover it. This way it can dry overnight while keeping the texture intact along with the clay. The last thing I will do today is go back and make sure my holes are still wide enough before the clay dries. Then I'll let it sit overnight to fully cure. It's officially time to reveal the color I selected. I went with Valspar in the color Caviar, and I absolutely love it. You can also use spray paint if you prefer. My goal with this project is to create a beautiful decor piece without spending a lot of money, using items I already have on hand to keep it budget friendly, and see if I can make something for less than what it costs in stores or online. I poured my paint into a container where I store all of my DIY paints, then rolled the clay around to ensure even coverage. Next, I set the pieces on a cardboard box to dry slightly. Once the paint became tacky, I added another layer of sand to enhance the texture. After that, I placed the pieces back onto the tissue paper to dry overnight. The more I got into this project, the more I started noticing shapes, and eventually I began seeing donut holes. I'm not sure if it was because I was getting hungry or if it was just naturally took on that shape. Either way, it's probably something you can't unsee once it's in your mind. 1, 2, voila! Here's how it looks. Paint it with more sand for additional texture. Now it's time to seal the sand in really well so the dirt adheres to the clay. I am using a new sealer I picked up from Michael's. This isn't sponsored, but I wanted to give it a try to see how it works. Now it's time to thread the beads onto whatever materials you're using. I had a leftover brand new shoelace, so I decided to use that instead of letting it sit in my card catalog. But feel free to use whatever materials you have on hand or whatever you decide works best. As I feed the beads through the shoelace, I can honestly say it was the perfect material to use. It made it so easy to thread each bead through. One thing I want to mention is that if you decide to use dirt as your material, it's very important to seal it well and let it cure for at least 24 hours. This ensures the dirt to adhere properly to the clay, so you won't have to worry about sand coming off your project. In this video, I didn't give it enough time to fully cure, so if you see sand on my tissue paper, that's because I was a little impatient to get this video up and ready for you guys. But just know that if you let it cure properly, you won't have to deal with that issue. Now that all the beads are placed onto the shoelace, it's now time to add the finishing touches. I didn't want anyone to immediately recognize it as a shoelace, so to complete the look, I tied the shoelace in a single knot, pulling it tightly together and building it up until it formed one big knot. Then I tucked the end part of the shoelace inside of the beads to keep it neat and secure. Here's how my beaded garland turned out. I absolutely love the final results. I love all the organic textures, and the total cost of this project was just $6 since I had to purchase a matte sealer. For that price, I think it was a perfect budget-friendly DIY that turned out beautifully. If you're enjoying this project, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more creative DIY ideas. Don't forget to comment down below and share your favorite materials to use for your craft projects like this. I thank you all for tuning in and watching, and I will see you guys next time.
Si tu savais tout ce que je veux donner pour toi, mon amour. Si tu...